everybody, and welcome back to another edition of Rock On Studio Live. My name is Elwood, your host as always, and if you haven't done it yet, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube and Twitch channel. All you got to do is search Rock On Studio Live, where you can check out past interviews and even some exclusive performances, plus stay up to date on all the guests moving forward. Had a great conversation yesterday with Tyler Connolly of Theory of a Dead Man, which you can watch live on all of those pages as well. Rock On Studio Live, bringing you one-on-one with all of your favorite rock bands during quarantine and so much more. I'm having a lot of fun with this, so we're going to be sticking around and doing this more and more as we continue to move on. But my special guest today, my friend from over the pond, who should be out on tour right now, and I know that's probably killing him, but it's really cool to get a different perspective from somebody in the UK. And he's got a new podcast that they just released with the band, which we are going to talk about. Plus, I'm kind of upset. It's 12 p.m. Central Time where I'm at in Chicago, but we should have done this interview at 11:11. Why didn't I think of that in the first place? We should have done it. Join me in the Rock On Studio Live right now. Give it up for Matt Biglin, man from Dinosaur Pile-Up. Welcome to the show.
Yo.
There you go.
What's up, dude?
How you doing, man?
Yeah, pretty good. Pretty good. It's a beautiful day in London. I've just been out in the sun, you know, getting some air. So feeling good.
Finally getting a little bit of a tan, right? We need that tan coming in.
I'm trying. Yeah. I mean, I was meant to be getting a tan out in the States right now, like you said. So just trying to make up for that, you know.
And you're one of the only people around, especially in the rock and roll world, where you can't get a haircut and you don't care. Like, no, I wasn't planning on getting one anyway.
I don't give two, shits about that. It's getting pretty hectic, I guess.
I'm trying to get the headbang to length. I don't think I'm going to be able to pull it off. Matt joining us in the Rock On Studio from London. They got the brand new single out now, Round the Bend, which is impacting rock radio everywhere. So make sure to call your local rock radio stations and support the new single, Round the Bend. And also, you guys just launched a brand new podcast, which I think has one of the greatest names, the Cosmic BBQ Podcast. Please tell me how that came about.
Yeah, I mean... Well, obviously the podcast came around like because of the lockdown and the quarantine, and we've been talking about doing a podcast for ages. Often on the road, we'll get on big old long drives, usually in the US, like 9 hours, and through that time we'll kind of have big old conversations that are kind of interesting. So we always wanted to do it. The Cosmic Barbecue, however, me, Jim, and Mike were just brainstorming names because we were gonna like drop it the week before we were like, what are we gonna call this thing? And we had a couple of kind of okay names that weren't too interesting, and then we just started throwing out just stupid ass names because I wanted it to kind of be to have the kind of scope to be about anything, not just the band. And like, I don't know, what the hell, it's a podcast. We could kind of call it whatever we wanted. So we just kind of started throwing around a bunch of names. But if I'm honest, like the Cosmic Barbecue has no, significance to us whatsoever.
Just throw it out there.
Yeah.
I thought you saw Joe Rogan get $100 million and you were like, that's what we got to do. Because I was thinking the same thing.
We did do that a couple of days ago. We were like, what?
We should have done this podcast shit a long time ago.
Yeah.
$100 million.
Yeah, I know.
Hey, I've been trying for 17 years. I'll never get close. Don't you worry about it. Matt from Dinosaur Pile-Up joining us in the Rock On Studio Live. If you got a question for Matt or you want to say hello, simply just drop it in the comments section. We'll do our best to go after all of them. So in your podcast, I want to talk about this because I'm a radio geek, obviously, and I love all this crap. You have done so much more than just talking about the band. And one of the things you brought up as a topic in your latest one is what if we weren't a band? So what if you were not in a band? What would you be doing regularly? What could you see yourself doing besides doing a podcast? And don't try to take my job. So give me something else.
Dude, I have no idea. I mean, we talk about that in the episode because my kind of first reaction is just like, once you've committed to something as we've committed, it's so hard to kind of backtrack and imagine yourself doing something else. But I mean, I don't know, I guess I reckon Mikey would be doing something in business because he's a business minded dude. Jim could be doing it. I don't know what Jim would be doing. I think I'd be doing something creative, like using illustration or maybe architecture. I'm fascinated by like architecture and buildings and stuff like that. And things like you know, we also talk about this in the podcast, but like things like in a movie where they get like a creative designer to kind of like figure out what's it called, concept design, you know, like designing the whatever of a sci-fi movie, stuff like that. I would love to do stuff like that.
Yeah, my dream job, if I couldn't do this, would be a game show host. I don't know what it is. I've always wanted to be a game show host. I feel like I'd be good at it. You get to give people stuff, people get happy. It's kind of like doing radio, but a lot more fun. And I love Steve Harvey. I love Family Feud. I would just love to do that every day.
You'd be good at it. I think you'd be good at that.
Come on down.
Yeah. You got the whole vibe, you know.
Rock on Studio Live with Matt, Dinosaur Pile-Up. Once again, new single Round the Bend is out now and impacting rock radio around. Since you love architecture, you've gotten to tour some amazing places with your bands and see around the world. Is there always one city that stands out that is the most beautiful when it comes to architecture?
I mean, I don't know, like New York still blows my mind. Like I've been to New York now more times than I can remember, but it still absolutely blows my mind. I don't know, something about all the buildings and stuff in New York. Also, like crazy places like Tokyo are bananas for like the kind of cityscape and the high-rise buildings and stuff like that. I don't know, maybe it's because like in the UK, you know, in London, what you'd call downtown, you know, the city, it's pretty built up and stuff, but in comparison to cities like Tokyo and even New York, we don't build vertically quite as much as you guys. So I don't know, maybe I'm still blown away by stuff like that just because I'm an Englishman. But I don't know, New York, big cities, you know.
If you're amazed by all the big buildings, and it sounds crazy, but window washing those buildings, you make a pretty good penny. But I don't know if I'd be able to get there and do that. But you get to enjoy all the architecture at the same time.
True. Yeah, I mean, I have wild ass vertigo. I never used to have vertigo as a kid, but like now I've grown up a bit. I have gnarly vertigo, so I don't know if I'd be so good at that.
I don't do heights.
Yeah.
So you talk about some great stories in the podcast, and one of them includes running through Miami wasted trying to get to a show. Is this one of the craziest stories you've had in the band attempting to get to the show? Detail this. I know Miami could tear you apart.
Yeah.
What happened?
We just found. So we were in Miami. We were on tour with. Oh, shit, I can't even remember who we're on the road with. I said it in the episode, but I can't remember now. And it was like 40 minutes or something before we were meant to be on stage. And we like to kind of check out dive bars and stuff like that when we hit a place. Anyway, our tour manager was like, "Look, you don't have much time." We're like, "We're gonna go," but he's like, "You have to be on time getting back to the show. So if you're going to go, just be super quick." We were like, yeah. So we went and found this amazing dive bar that was maybe further away than we thought it was, or we remembered it was, or whatever. Found this brilliant dive bar, hung out there for a bunch of time. Then we went down to the beach. I can't remember the name, the beach, but the famous beach.
Miami Beach?
I can't remember. Yeah, I guess.
My
memory is freaking worse, man. So we went down to the beach, and long story short, we were like, someone checked their watch, and we suddenly realized we were on stage in like 10 minutes, and we'd had a bunch of beers at this brilliant dive bar. So we were hooning it like Tom Cruise running through Miami, trying to get back to stage. That was like probably the finest we've cut pre-stage. I think I ran directly through the doors of because it was a big old venue, like I think I ran directly through the doors, and Ollie RTM just sort of like threw my guitar strap over me, and I just went straight on. Like, we were way late. Yeah, it was funny, man. I don't know. Like, sometimes the longer a tour goes on, you kind of get sort of laps with your timing, I guess.
Yeah, you pulled a Wu-Tang. That's what Wu-Tang does. You just show up when you want and get on there.
Yeah, I guess. There was good times though. I love Miami, man. Yeah, really good times.
And it's funny, being from the UK and coming over to the States, the last time we talked, like, food is a major thing that you guys discussed too, right? Best tour food. So being from the UK and coming to America, what was the first thing that shocked you food-wise? Was it the size of the portions? Was it how good the pizza is in New York and Jersey? Because that's the best pizza and everyone could scream at me for it. What was it? What was it that shocked you the most?
Yeah, for like, size of portions is a real thing in the States. Like, it's crazy how big portions are and stuff. Obviously pizza, barbecue, Tex-Mex or genuine Mexican, like, all of that stuff we go wild for. We eat a lot of Vietnamese food on the road as well. The best pizza I've ever had though is Joe's in New York. Yeah, Joe's.
Anything from New York is good, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing, but Joe's is like, that's my favorite pizza of all time. Yeah, dude, I don't know. I mean, we just eat so much pizza, so much barbecue. You know.
Do you actually gain weight going on tour? I thought most bands lost weight because they don't
I lose weight. I still lose weight. I can't keep weight on me, like, even if I try. So I always, like, on any tour I'll come back super skinny, you know. So I kind of just I just eat loads in general. That's why touring the States is actually kind of cool for me, because I just get to go nuts, you know.
So I want to bring that up about touring in the States, and I've had a lot of people ask me about this. When you're a band and you're from the UK or you're from Europe, even further, a lot of Australian bands, what is it about touring the States that it's great? Is that you can play so many shows in a row? Is it the distance that's traveled that it's easier here in the States? What is it about a band from overseas getting to America and touring that makes it so exciting?
I don't know, like, touring the States for us, I guess maybe being from the UK and being from the UK and growing up on American bands, like, all my influences were American bands, you know, Rage, Deftones, Pumpkins, Foo Fighters, Nirvana, like, they're all American bands. So the dream of kind of touring the States was always like a real thing. So there's so many things about it. Like, one thing that really struck me, obviously we tour the States quite a lot now, so I guess certain aspects of this have worn off. But the first couple of times it was really shocking, like, how cinematic everything was, because all the movies you watch are American. Like, most Hollywood, you know, most big blockbuster movies are American and often shot in America. So you rocked up on an America tour and, like, you saw everything in, you know, yellow cabs in New York and, like, yellow school buses, and I don't know, everything was like, holy shit, I've seen this in a movie like 100 times, but never in real life. That was something that was really, really noticeable for us being from the UK.
Yeah, you came off a huge tour last year with Shinedown and Bad Flower, and that tour that was great because you come to the States, you were playing amphitheaters. Most of those shows were huge outdoor amphitheaters.
Right? That was a great tour, man. And that was a 10 and a half weeker, because we did the Shinedown dates for 6 weeks, and then we did our own headline right on the back of it with a day in between. So it was like 10 and a half weeks solid. That was a great tour. Super.
The good old days.
Don't talk about it. Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, touring the States, touring the States is great as a rock band. The crowds are great. Like, people really get behind rock music. So, you know, and also like the radio stations and stuff like that, and that makes a huge difference. So, I don't know. Like, touring the States is if not our favorite place to tour, just because people get the music, and like people are up for it, and even if they don't know you, that they want to listen, like, because obviously half the time we're headlining our own smaller shows, half the time we're supporting larger bands, and the crowd doesn't necessarily know us and stuff. So that's great. Also things like the drives. If you're touring in the summer, the weather is incredible. The long drives, even though they can be really grueling, it makes it more substantial, I guess, and that's kind of a cool experience. I mean, where the hell were we? You know, the States can be kind of brutal in the colder months.
Telling me.
Yeah, for sure. I can get kind of gnarly, but you know, I don't know. It's just a great way to tour.
But it's also awesome because being from the UK, when you come tour the States, most bands don't know where they are in the first place on tour. So especially if you go to a different country, you really don't know where you wake up sometimes. When it's not your turn to drive, like, no, really, where are we? There have to be times where you have no idea, in the middle of the Midwest somewhere, in playing a show in the middle of Nebraska or something. Like, it's got to be weird.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I usually don't have any idea where I am walking onto stage. Like that's a fact. I have to get Ollie, our tour manager, to write the city name on the top of my set list because I just have no idea where I am like 90% of the time.
I couldn't imagine having to deal with that. So
being like, it's not just waking up and being like, where am I? It's about like walking on and being like, what's up? Shit. And I'm like, because the States are so big, the tours are long, you're fatigued every day. You know, it can get kind of confusing.
Man, you've had a nice journey in Dinosaur Pile-Up. The band has been together now for, correct me if I'm wrong, 13 years with Dinosaur Pile-Up, right? That's where
big ones.
2007. Is it crazy? Does it feel like it has gone by so quickly, or is it dragged out? How do you feel?
Dude, I mean, I don't know. Has it dragged or gone quickly? So strange. I don't know. I can't believe it's that substantial now. I guess looking forward, it's been a long journey, but looking backwards, you know, there was so much history there, but at the same time, it's like, it feels like it's just happened in 10 minutes.
It's good. It's good to be able to sustain for that long. You know? That's the hardest part is constantly keeping your fans entertained and putting out new music and keeping them engaged that you want more and more.
Yeah. And, you know, we're still kicking it, and
that's it.
We're putting records out, you know. I mean, sometimes you look at really big bands and you're like, damn, they've been going 20 years. That's so crazy. I'm like, we're not even a big band. We've been going 13 years, dude.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
So one of the main things that we have a big thing here in the US right now is due to the COVID-19 pandemic, a lot of small clubs and venues are really in trouble right now of never opening their doors again.
Yeah,
we all know that type of business it's like the old paycheck to paycheck business when you own a music venue or a bar, and they've been shut down so long now. Luckily, there's a lot of great Live Nation for Crew Nation has set up hashtag Roadie Strong, not only for venues, but also for roadies that are not making any money. A lot of crew guys are not being able to collect anything. But it brings up the topic I love asking bands this, and it was brought up by a question by someone as well. Is there, number one, a small club that you will always have great memories at as starting off of being in a band and saying, if it wasn't for that club, I never would be able to be where I am today?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, totally. It would be a place called the Brudenell Social Club in Leeds, which is where I started the band and where I lived for a long time. Leeds has a great music scene, and the Brudenell Social Club is kind of the sort of hub of that scene. And dude, I was at the Brew every night or every other night watching a show. And it's like, in Leeds is crazy because there's so many venues, and every night there's a show happening at every one of those venues. So it's like you could see any amount of bands, you know. But I'd always go to the Brew. I mean, I go to loads of other venues, but the Brudenell was kind of the main one, you know. And I met like people that were in the band at the Brudenell. I saw bands that influenced me. I recorded like the first demos of Dinosaur Pile-Up in the live room, in the main room of the Brudenell Social Club. Like I used to like, you know, we actually talk about this in the podcast, but like, I used to like carry my drum kit down to the Brudenell in the daytime before the bands would load in to play their shows, and I'd like record the demos of Dinosaur, and then the bands would start loading in and I'd have to like get out.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so like that menu is like really key to my sort of formative years of like making the band, but even just being into music. Like I can remember when it's so crazy because like, you know, I was a kid, and the Brew was like one of those little venues where it's just, you know, it's just a small venue. So the band that just played would be having a beer like 5 foot over there, like afterwards. But me, as like, yeah. But me as a 17-year-old kid, I was like, oh shit, like blown away by like, oh my God, that's whoever. And they weren't even in big bands, they were just local bands, but I was like blown away by that. And it's just crazy. Like they weren't famous bands, they were local bands, but I was like blown away by the fact that I was like stood there. And it's just wild, isn't it, how that kind of changes? Because now obviously I'm in a touring band that plays around the whole world, I guess. And that, I don't know, makes me feel, it's a cool feeling, because sometimes I guess when people come and meet me, Mikey, and Jim, and they're stoked, it's like I relate to that because I was exactly that person. Like me, it's like meeting these bands, being like, holy shit, like blown away. I don't know. That's a cool feeling, and that's why small venues like that are in trouble now. That's such a problem and such a tragedy because they're so important, you know.
The evolution of bands. If these smaller bands have,
totally.
you don't start a band and end up in an arena. You start in dive bars and you play in front of nobody. You have these small clubs.
For a long time.
Yeah, without those, the bands are not going to have anywhere to play. So it's really scary right now because we don't see we see tours being rescheduled for next year, but we still have to get to next year for them to happen.
Yeah,
and I think it's really cool that a lot of musicians are bringing up these type of memories of their favorite local clubs that they saw their bands in. And do you remember that first national act that you saw? Not a local band, one of the biggest bands. I know mine. Mine was at a place called the Stone Pony in New Jersey, where I saw the Deftones.
The Deftones were your first band?
Yes, in a small club. Yes. Well, that was the Stone Pony, Asbury Park. Yes.
Is that still there?
Oh yeah, it's there now.
I feel like we played that.
You probably did.
Yeah, we played Asbury Park like literally last tour.
Yeah, they have a big outdoor venue now. It was a small club then, and I'll never forget because the pipes were exposed back then, and I was in the pit, and I was 15, and I had an older friend bring me, and I'll never forget Chino was crowd surfing and holding on to these pipes and swinging across the crowd, and I remember from that moment on, I said, I want to do this every day. I want to be in a mosh pit. I want to feel the music and the people and the family and everything that was involved with it. Yeah. So Deftones was mine. Do you remember your first band that changed?
That's way cool, dude. I mean, that is 100% cooler than mine. By the way, just talking about Deftones, I just ordered the sickest Deftones trucker cap literally last week. It's so fucking dope. Anyway,
quarantine buy.
Yeah. It's a quarantine buy. So someone's actually asked me on this chat thing here, what's the first band you ever saw live? So, what's up, Peggy? So the first band I saw live, I went with a friend of mine who really liked, it was his like band that he liked. He liked this band called Gomez that were like UK indie folk type of It's like acoustic, soft rock, indie stuff. I wasn't so into it, but he loved Gomez, and so we went. So I guess that technically is my first show, but my first real show was Tea in the Park Festival. So the next like live thing I went to when I was like 15 or 16 or something like that was Tea in the Park Festival. So like that's what I really think of my first show, because that was the first one where I was like, my brain exploded and I fully connected with the experience. And I saw Foo Fighters headline, and they were still playing like loads of Color and the Shape stuff. I guess that probably would have been around Nothing Left to Lose. So they were playing like loads of Color and the Shape stuff.
Yeah, I think it just celebrated 20 years since that album.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I saw who else did I see? I saw a bunch of bands. And then the next year I went back to Tea in the Park and I discovered Jimmy Eat World. Jimmy Eat World were touring Clarity, which is actually one of my favorite records. And that's obviously the album just before Bleed American came out, where it all just exploded for them. But they were still touring Clarity, and I was like, whoa, like, who's this band? They're super great. And then like 2 months later they released Bleed American and the whole world freaked out. Yeah, I love that record as well. Bleed American was an amazing record. So yeah,
that's good. That's not bad. That's not bad. You're acting like I mean, I went to a concert before it, but it was with my older sister. It was New Kids on the Block, but I don't count that because that wasn't for me. Okay, New Kids on the Block.
Technically, it's New Kids on the Block. So not definitely.
I learned some choreography back then. It made me who I am today. Okay. The MC Light was the opener. Tommy Page. I did go see Color Me Bad and Paul Abdul. I did see a lot when I was younger. It was good. Yeah. But then I found the Deftones and everything changed.
Favorite band.
Matt from Dinosaur Pile-Up joining us live in the Rock On studio. Once again, the new single Round the Bend is impacting rock radio everywhere. So make sure you call your local rock radio station, email them, you can message them, get that thing on the air, and we're going to get them back on the road. All right, we're coming to the end of another episode. But before we go, another hilarious moment. Out of the UK, you've discussed words that are pronounced funny. What is the dumbest word you've heard Americans say?
Well, like British word.
But what about American? What's the dumb word that we say that you guys were like, what are you talking about? Is there any that stand out?
Not really. Off the top of my head, not really. One thing I do find really amusing is often I'll hear Americans pronouncing British words like place names or, Leicester Square. Our spellings are totally bananas. Like British spellings can be really freaky.
Ours are not even close to the word sometimes, so you're not the only one.
So like hearing Americans pronouncing English words, it's not your guys' fault at all. Like they're spelled ridiculously, but that is entertaining, like Leicester Square and stuff like that. I find that amusing. I don't know, dude. Dumb words. I don't know. I'm not gonna come.
Swear words? Are swear words the same? Or do we swear the same way?
Well, yeah, because a lot of the swear words we use because we watch the same movies as you. So that's true. Like a lot of the Americanisms are now, we use Americanisms for swear words and stuff.
Being in the UK, a big soccer fan, football. Somebody wants to know your favorite football club.
Yeah, I saw that. Dan wants to know my favorite football club. I'm sorry, Dan. I don't really follow football at all, but there's a very small percentage of Englishmen that don't follow football, and I'm one of them. Mike, however,
shocking.
Mike, however, is a diehard football fan. He supports Chelsea. If that's any good to you, he loves Chelsea. Yeah, booyah.
Yeah, I like the jerseys. It's great. We need sports back. We need concerts back. We need all of it back, and we'll get there. We're just gonna have to wait it out. Matt from Dinosaur Pile-Up, once again, new single out round the bend now, impacting rock radio. Make sure you definitely call up your local rock radio stations and do it. Thank you guys for hanging out with us as always. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube and Twitch to Rock On Studio Live. Keep up to date. Check out all the past interviews and performances. And we'll be back next week with even more exclusive interviews, one-on-ones with all of your favorite rock bands during quarantine. Matt, I had a pleasure today. Did you have a good time?
Dude, I had a great time. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. And I hope next time I see you, it's in real life. You know?
And we could get drunk at a local dive bar and try to get you to the show just on time. Just barely on time. That's the plan.
It's your responsibility. You can be the guy that's got to get us to the show.
Rock On Studio Live. That's another episode. His name is Matt Biglin from Dinosaur Pile-Up. Round the Bend, new single out now. Thank you guys for hanging. We'll talk to you again soon. Stay safe, wash your hands, and stay metal.
Later.